Today's guest is Andrew Glanville, who has been a chiropractor for 15 years and is also a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who is currently exploring becoming a life coach as a side hustle. So, Andrew, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing pretty good as well. Like I said, it's a bit of a different Monday for me than usual, with my wife and my kid being at the mother-in-law. So it's actually been a pretty productive Monday. But anyway, I don't want to make this about me.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to know, like, especially as a chiropractor, as a somebody in wellness and fitness. I know you're always serving everybody else. So how can I best support you today?
Well, as someone who provides life advice, health advice to other people, I feel like it would be hypocritical of me if I didn't also have people who were speaking into my life um, in a coaching, business, mentorship kind of situation. I have, even though I'm a personal trainer, I have another personal trainer who sets up all of my programs and my nutrition for me because we can all get stuck inside our own heads.
I love it. I love it when I have coaches on here, like I said, that they walk their own talk. I don't really know about my background, but I actually owned a gym for 10 years as well before I moved
Oh,
into this. So
cool, cool.
I'm very familiar with regards to all of the ups and downs of doing what you do. So I got it from many different angles, and I'm happy that you're here. So I know that we spoke about a few different things off air with regards to kind of what you wanted to bring um, to this call. I know one of the things that stood out for me was you kind of kept repeating this idea of like, I know I'm getting in my own way. I know I have holes in my game. So why don't you describe in your words what that means to you?
So I I am a hard worker. I put in a lot of hours sometimes, but I also know that those hours tend to get frittered away sometimes, and I think that I can be more effective not just in the quantity of hours, but in the quality of the hours that I put in. Like if I were more focused, I wouldn't have to put in the increased volume of time.
Got it. So if I was doing the actual activities that move the needle forward, then I wouldn't have to put in as much hours because half the time I'm doing things that aren't actually that important, procrastinating things that are important, and then kind of scrambling to get the important things done.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So you're obviously very self-aware, right? Because like
Hmm.
you kind of like this is the exact problem that I have. I know I have it. So why do
Yeah.
you think you haven't been able to overcome it?
I think that I have a little bit of a fear of success slash imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
To use that buzzword, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with that, but I feel like sometimes that I am an imposter living in my world, and that if people look too closely, if I get too successful and people start to look too closely, they'd find all my holes and realize I'm not who I really say I am.
Okay, got it. So again, I appreciate your candor with this because I think many entrepreneurs actually have the exact same thing, but not many are willing to admit it
Mm,
even to themselves and publicly. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. Um, when it comes to that piece, okay, so if people look too closely, they would find my holes. They would realize I'm not who I say I'm at, who is sits. I'm not who I say that I am. Okay, again, something that you're very well aware of.
hmm.
So it seems like right now the pattern that's developing is that I have awareness, but I'm not able to overcome it. So again, just
Yeah.
intuitively, why do you think that is? What do you think is the block to it?
Um, I I I don't know. It's something that I've been aware of for a long time, and I have a hard time because what I told you about this imposter syndrome kind of thing, I've realized that for quite a long time, and I've known it's been a hole in my game. I've known it's a big piece of what's held me back, but I can't seem to identify why that is and what I need to do to kind of break through it.
Okay, got it. So the way that it manifests for you, or one of the ways situationally that manifests for you, is focus. I know what I need to do, but I can't seem to do it. So when you are in that space, what is the internal feeling that's driving that situation?
Uh, like I want to get away,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to escape into social media, or I want to distract myself in some way from what it is that I should be doing,
So
right?
basically, it's an avoidance pattern.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the behavior manifests as I want to run away, I want to escape, I want to distract myself. So most of the time, avoidance behaviors are driven by a particular feeling. And I asked you, okay, well, what do you actually feel when you're doing this? And your brain automatically went to essentially describing in more detail what the behavior looks like. So
Mm,
if you had to step back, what is the actual feeling that's driving the avoidance?
fear,
Fear. Okay. Do you have an idea of what, or is it just a generalized fear?
exposure.
Exposure. Okay. Tell me more about that. What do you mean to you when you say exposure?
When I say that people are gonna like who I am and all of my faults are gonna be exposed to people, and they're gonna see like my dirty insides.
Okay. So really, the core driver behind all of this is essentially shame,
Yeah,
because I will avoid in order to hide the parts of me that at least another part of me doesn't actually want to be seen. It's too dark to be upheld for public consumption.
yeah.
Okay. So is that something that is new to you, or it's also something that you've known from before?
I've known that for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I've it's not a big new thing.
Okay. Perfect. So really, the awareness around the pattern, what the driver behind it is, all of that is very much known to you. What's not known to you then is really, how do I work with shame? How do I heal the fundamental shame that's there? Like, would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's spot on. Yep.
Okay. And is that something that you've looked into doing, or it's just even when I've tried, I haven't actually been able to work through it?
I've tried, um, maybe not hard enough,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe there's a part of me that feels comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
like intentionally holding myself back, intentionally letting the shame keep me where it wants me because I don't deserve better.
Okay. And not deserving better is the shame itself justifying itself,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
It is part of,
self-fulfilling prophecy.
correct. It is the
Yeah,
perpetuation of the state of shame, because why get better when I don't deserve better?
true. Yeah.
Okay. And when I'm reflecting these things back, like, how do you actually feel internally? Like, what's coming up for
It's very much resonating with me, but also bringing up frustration
you? And what, tell me more about the
because
frustration.
I'm not a person who likes anyone or anything to like hold me back.
Mm-hmm.
I keep a very strict schedule. Uh, I do certain things on certain days of the week, and when things get in the way of me doing those things, it makes me very frustrated. And I just like I've had my car was broke down, and so I was having a hard time. Like I had to take it to the shop and get it fixed, which inconvenienced my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a tendency to get very frustrated when things like that happen. When things outside of my own control mess with what I'm trying to do, it really makes me like I have an overreaction to those kinds of things.
Right. And then when the thing that is getting in your way is yourself, then you also end up having an overreaction and hating yourself because you are the thing standing in your own way and you don't know how to get
Is
rid of
me.
that. So then
Yeah.
it perpetuates
Wow.
the same cycle of shame, which is now I hate things that get in my way. And when I get in my own way, then I actually hate myself even more.
That's wow. That's yeah. I'm just kind of sorry. I'm kind of having an aha moment like right here, and we're like 10 minutes into this, and I'm already having this. Yeah.
So
That's that
what is the aha moment? What's coming up for you?
that 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 when things outside of my control happen, they frustrate me, but I don't ever actually allow that frustration to happen. Like I don't consciously allow that to happen towards myself,
Hmm.
right? I should get frustrated towards myself and use that to drive me to action, to do the things that I need to, rather than just continuing on with this internal seething frustration and anger towards myself.
Hmm. So the realization there is, okay, well, I actually internalized the same frustration. I just wasn't aware of it. That's a great
Yeah.
observation, and I'm glad that that's landing for you. And the solution to this essentially shame-based pattern is for me to get more strict, more disciplined, and more intentional about doing more.
Yeah.
Okay. How has that worked out for you in the past?
Mostly good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's what drove me to actually like get in shape for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to lose weight, a significant amount of weight, to get strong, to become somebody that people describe. People come to me for advice about discipline and habits and that kind of stuff. And so me taking on this battle in my personal life has had really good fruit. I have a
Mm-hmm.
hard time applying these same things then when it comes to my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So
yeah,
is it fair to say you don't actually lack discipline? What you
yeah,
actually lack is the state that allows you to be intentional with your discipline.
yes, that's a good way to put it.
Okay. So how do you
I,
interpret that statement?
I, I, at this point, I choose the, so even though discipline is a hard thing, I choose to discipline myself in ways that are comfortable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a very strict workout schedule and eating regimen, and I can and I get up early every single day, and I go to bed early. So I have these certain things that I am very strict about, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm very disciplined in. But then there are other places in my life, to me, it's very comfortable for me to be disciplined in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even hardly disciplined for me to do that.
Yeah, it's just who you are.
It's just who I am now. It
Correct.
wasn't who I used to be, but it's who I am now.
Correct.
Um,
And
because I grew up fat and lazy, you know?
perfect. So just kind of going off of that, going like the whole idea, like I don't think you have a discipline problem. We have is a state problem. And what I mean by that is if you look at where you are disciplined in, you mentioned people come to me all the time and they ask me, how did you do what you did? What's your secret? All of those things, right? So the thing where you are able to apply your discipline is also the very thing that gives you validation, appreciation, and approval from other people.
Mm.
Where you lack discipline is where your subconscious is fearful of exposure, fearful of all my faults are going to be out there. So if I am disciplined and do the thing that I know that I can do, to my subconscious, all of the shame that I have around who I am are going to be multiplied, scrutinized, and exposed. That is more at the crux of what is standing in your way than the actual discipline. Because you're very disciplined in something that a lot of people struggle with, which is, weight and muscle and exercise. So what comes up for you when I reflect that back?
Ah, it's another one of those, like it's kind of almost like a well duh moment for me. I'm like, why have I been able to do all of this and I'm not able to do this?
Right.
Like, why can't I apply these same principles that I apply over here to this over here?
Because if you were to apply it and succeed in where you want it, which is in your business,
Yeah,
then to your subconscious, the cost of that is higher than you staying the same, even if staying the same is not comfortable. Like it is worse to your subconscious to be exposed than it is to suffer staying the same.
yeah.
Okay. So, as you know, this is all basically shame-based protections. And I asked you before, okay, like you like, what have you actually done to work through the shame? And you're like, well, maybe not as much. There's probably a part of me that feels comfortable to stay in the shame. It's keeping where I'm at because I don't deserve any better. So, have most of your attempts at healing the shame been kind of by yourself for yourself?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, isolation and shame are also very good friends.
they are.
Part of healing shame, not all of it, but a big part of it is letting the things that you don't want seen be seen by someone or people that are actively there for your best interests. We're social beings and we require that social element to fully heal, especially when it comes to shame. And my working definition of shame is always it is a vacuum of love and acceptance. So
Mhm.
all of the pieces that are dark and hidden, those are vacuums of love and acceptance. One of the ways to let that in is to let somebody else see that, facilitate that, help you work through facing those pieces. So the longer you stay isolated, the longer that that just continues to create and nurture the same patterns. So what comes up when I share that?
I that I am I try to be an honest person, but I can be like selectively honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't lie to people, but depending on who that person is, I will give them I will highlight different points of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like no one person knows all of it,
Right. Because then nobody
right?
has leverage to actually hurt you fully.
Yep. Yep. This person might know about my drug and alcohol history. This person might know this other deep dark secret about me, but no one knows both. There's only one person that knows like all of it. And anyway,
Yeah.
like like I talk to my friends who are because I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, drug addict. Um, and so I talk to my friends in that circle. I talk to them about my drug and alcohol related stuff because I know that they're not going to judge me for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I will talk to them when I have a struggle with alcohol or one of those things because they're gonna help me through that particular. And I kind of until like I kind of always just assumed that was a strength, that was something that is the way that it should be. Is that I talk to these people about these things, and I talk to these people about these things, but I don't talk to these people about all of these things.
Yeah. And I would add the nuance that it is a strength. It is something to be celebrated. It is something to be proud of because overcoming any addiction is a major, major feat. And like all addictions, they're also fundamentally rooted in shame as well. Like you cannot escape
Mhm.
one without the other. And this isn't about necessarily hating on, oh, I've done all these things, like, why aren't they enough? Because that's just another form of judgment. It's about just recognizing that the next stage and the next evolution of my business requires a different level of visibility than I currently have the identity and the capacity to hold. So
Mhm.
if I want the success that comes from this next iteration of my business, it requires my own evolution to step into a world where I can't selectively discern essentially the room. Because if I go to a room, and I'm, for the sake of example, I'll just use an AA room. Like if I go to this room, I know that these people will not judge these parts of me. I can't have that same level of control when I go into, let's just say, the wild, wild west of the internet, right? So again, goes back to exposure, goes back to those fears. The reason that I distract myself is because I fundamentally know if I go and I apply my discipline in these areas where I'm going to be put into the wild, wild west of visibility, then I cannot control, I do not have leverage of protection on who knows what about me. So it's like my identity right now is one that has allowed me to overcome these things and get to where I'm at behind closed doors. But that identity does not serve who I need to become in order to go to the next evolution of my business and my visibility of what I'm assuming is going to be the message you also want to put out into the world.
Yeah.
So, what lands from that reflection?
Um, I need to kind of I need to alter my, I guess I would call them circles of honesty,
Mhm.
and who I tell what. Because I do believe that there is I'm not going to walk into my patient's treatment room and tell them that 8 years ago I was a raging drug addict and alcoholic. They don't need to know that information. Um, and I have to, part of this a little bit stems from the idea that I learned a long time ago, of being able to walk through the office door and putting on a different uniform.
Mhm.
When I'm at the office, I'm this person. When I walk out the door, I'm someone else. And
Mhm.
there's a piece of that that's appropriate, and there's some of it that's not. And so I have to kind of figure out how to redraw those circles, and and redraw who knows what and when they know it, in order to help me move past this barrier that I'm feeling.
And what if you could walk through the world with nothing to hide and nothing to prove, period?
That would be awesome.
Okay. So that is what's available to you on the other side of healing all of the shame.
Yeah,
And what comes up when I suggest that?
I don't know how to do that.
Okay. That's fair. Because if you did, you wouldn't be here. So
Right.
I get that. And I think the first place that it starts is recognizing the core of your issue is not a focus issue. It's not a distraction issue. It's not even a visibility or fear of success issue. All of those are symptoms of the root cause of I operate out of optimizing to basically minimize my shame versus step into my potential.
Yeah.
Okay. So what lands for you with that?
That got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've overcome a lot of things that I've had shame about. Growing up fat and lazy, um, drugs and alcohol, those are both big things that I felt shame about in my past. And in a very real and a very real and very powerful way, I have put those parts of me to death. But there's some uncovered, unexposed areas where I still feel shame, um, that I still walk in, that affect both my business and other aspects of my life and lifestyle, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a stigma. I grew up in the church, and there's a stigma in the church that I that I that I that is that it's more righteous to be broke,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're not supposed to be successful. And that's a stigma that is uh like people who made a lot of money were kind of like, oh geez, he's greedy or whatever, you know. And I thought that I didn't think I struggled with that, but that might be a piece of what's going on, along with the idea that there are areas in my life that I still struggle with, that hold me back, that I fear, um, could be exposed, you know?
Mm-hmm. 100%. That is also going to be a factor that just adds to the soup, right? Because now it's not just what's exposed of my own shame, it's this perception of success that is inevitable if I apply my discipline in the area of growing my business. Now it's going to come up right against these false beliefs. Even though I know intellectually that they're false, I still feel them strongly internally that are basically rooted in scarcity. I'm going to be a bad person if I'm successful, right? So that's another
Yep.
layer to this piece. So if we're just zooming out now and kind of cumulatively looking at this landscape of limitation and shame, how are they affecting, like, what ripple effects are they creating in your business? How are they limiting your business?
Well, um, sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Mhm. Basically, how are all these patterns negatively affecting your business and or your ability to grow your business?
Mm. I think that there is a self-fulfilling ceiling
Hmm.
that I put on myself, right? I get to a certain point of busyness, and even though I know that I want to be able to make more and to help more people, like I get to a point where I'm like, okay, all right, if I get any busier than this, I'm not going to be able to also do these other things that I like to do throughout the day. Like it messes with my it starts to mess with my programming and what it is that what other of these little things that I like to get done throughout the day. If I'm busier, I won't have time to like I like to read my book during the day, which again is one of those things that I use. Oh, hey, he looks busy because he's reading a book,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm at work. I'm at the office. I should be treating patients, not reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
But if I get busier, I'm not going to have time to read my book or whatever, fill in the blank with whatever it is like that I like to do throughout the day that that fills my time, but it doesn't actually move the needle forward, you know?
Yeah, so basically just another intellectual form of avoidance.
Yeah. I'm busy, but we can all look busy, but is that busyness actually getting us closer to where we want to be? And in a lot of cases for me, no,
Yeah.
you know?
So if you zoom that out, are there other people that are suffering because of your suffering?
Yeah, every well, I mean, you zoom out like because I get paid on a percentage. Um, first of all, there's patients that aren't being seen
Mm-hmm.
because there are people that I could help that I am not helping because I haven't grown my business to where it needs to be. So there are literally people in the world who are suffering from things that they could be helped with because of this lack in my life. The business because I'm one of four doctors, like the owner of the business could be the business could be helping more people and the business itself could be making more money.
Mm-hmm.
And in me being able to help more people and make more money, I would then have the capacity and the resources to help other people, like by giving through charity, by supporting local businesses and stuff like that. And myself, like I I could be like there's all kinds of things.
So are you cut out? I don't know if the microphone turned off. Seems like yeah, there's some technical because I can see that the microphone just shut off. So I'm not really sure what happened there. So we'll see if we can get that back. It might actually be on Zoom and not necessarily the um headphones. Like it might actually just be on Zoom. I can't hear yet. It's like the actual Zoom like microphone has been turned off. I don't know what happened, but it just turned off. So you might actually just on the app, you might need to turn the audio back on. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. So technical difficulties. So okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I might edit out this part, so that's okay. We'll just get back to it. Um,
Hello?
okay, there we go.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Like my earbuds just spontaneously decided to disconnect.
There was too much stuff being moved through energetically, so
Right,
they shut
right,
off, you
right.
know?
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It knew
Um,
I was getting somewhere.
That's okay. It's all good. It happens. Okay, so I mean, you were talking about, and I asked you the question like, who else is suffering from your suffering? So, anything else you wanted to add to that?
Well, so I think I said, there are patients, um, the business itself, like people that I may be able to help, and myself, from a grand scheme of things,
Hmm.
um, yeah,
Okay, that's fair.
basically everyone in my life, everyone I touch could in some way benefit from me being more successful
Hmm.
and being able to help more people. Because even if it's not like directly financially, if I was if I were healed of these things, if I were able to move past these barriers and not walk in the level of shame that I have, I would be better to everyone around me.
Yeah, 100%. So, I know like in this container, there's only so much that I can do as far as like working through these, right? The biggest thing I can offer you in a container like this is just to kind of help you get more awareness of like what the core issue actually is. In your instance, it all comes back to like, I need to heal this shame. So just because I want to be conscious of time, are you clear on like what the root cause here is, or is there still something left outstanding for you?
Well, and this stems from more, um and this is probably outside of the scope of this, is that there are certain other areas in my life where I struggle that cause me to have to constantly be feeling and like I'm walking under a certain amount of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that again are maybe more, for lack of a better term, sin slash religiously related.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I have walked under on some level for decades, and I keep thinking that I have it under control, and then it's not. And like, again, I don't, this is kind of outside. This is something that I more deal with on a personal level, um, in relationship to like, and I don't know like how much editing you do, but like this would be a part of maybe something I wouldn't want to necessarily be included, but like in regards to like purity and sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's some shame in some areas in regards to that has been there since I was a teenager, you know? And and I know that's a big piece of the shame that I walk in. Um and again, so like this is kind of like I said, outside of maybe it's something that I definitely need to deal with, but it's you know, I have a lot of shame around that thing.
So I just want to acknowledge you once again for, allowing yourself to even speak it. Because like I said, the first part of healing the shame is to actually be seen in it. And this is a very brave way to do that.
Mhm.
Um, while yes, I do step through the first door of like, okay, well, how are all these patterns affecting my business? Shame doesn't really discriminate. So it will 110%, infiltrate many different areas of your life. So yes, I do agree with it. It is outside the scope of like what we can do here and
Yeah,
now. But
yeah.
in terms of the accuracy of the statement, yeah, 110%. The good news about that is healing the shame is one of those instances where it's the rising tide that rises all ships. So, like, yes, I might enter into this work to improve my business, but by virtue of also being able to step into my own light, step into my own expression of who I authentically am in business, it will inevitably show up in other areas of my life. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
you can't separate the two, just like you can't separate them right now. When that gets healed, you also can't separate the healing either. So that is the good news of it, right?
Right.
So anyway, um, anything else around this before we kind of close it off?
Um, about the around the idea of shame.
Well, shame and in general, just your clarity around how that's affecting like your business growth,
Oh,
how that's limiting you from this. Just again, like I know there's a lot of things we can dive into, but just in terms of why you came here, is it more clear for you what the actual root cause is?
it is. It is very much more clear to me.
Okay, fair enough. So in that case, if you can just close us off, let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Well, so I have a podcast. It's called the Dangerous Gentleman Podcast, where I talk about kind of my transformation journey and also areas where I still struggle, areas where I still need to grow. I tell kind of the story of I used to think I had a boring story, and then my life got very, very interesting. And so I kind of tell the story and kind of try to teach life lessons based on my story because I feel like my story is similar to other people's. I've been through a lot. And so you can follow the Dangerous Gentleman podcast on Spotify, Apple, um, basically any of those platforms. On Instagram, I am the Dangerous G Man because the Dangerous Gentleman wasn't. Anyway, the Dangerous G Man. And then on TikTok, I'm the Dangerous Gentleman. So I post workout content, I post motivational content, and just life life stuff.
Awesome.
And
Love
if you're in Yakima, Washington, come see me at Warninger Chiropractic.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, we'll include all that in the show notes. But Andrew, thank you very much for coming on. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
All right.